Hi everyone, so today we're going to do some annotations from pages 12 to 17 of Jasper Jones. So please get your stuff ready. Today we're going to be taking notes only on character and language, so you'll just need those two colors ready. And we're going to start at the section right after Charlie has seen the body. And it says, I would never look past Jasper Jones to reveal his secret, but I don't turn back. I stay. I follow Jasper Jones. And I see it, and everything changes. So this section here is on the start of page 12, and there's a lot of syntax and structure here, which comes into language a little bit because it's the way that Sylvie has used the language here to really slow down the action of the story. The fact that the sentences are really short makes you kind of stop, and it kind of stilts the writing here so that you can stop and kind of have a moment where you're with Charlie about to witness this thing with him. So I just make a note that the syntax and the structure in those really short lines and short sentences slows the action down to make it more dramatic when we do get to it. After the next paragraph, it tells us that it's horrible, too horrible for words. Now, this here is a language device that we call cumulative language. It is spelled C-U-M-U-L-A-T-I-V-E. Same root word as accumulate. It means for something to build up. So it first says it's horrible, but then it furthers that by saying too horrible for words. So the language here is accumulating, or using cumulative language that really mirrors the reality of this situation, that it's bad, but then it gets worse the more he looks at it and sees what he is really looking at. There's further repetition in the next sentences that say it's a girl, it's a girl. So that repetition there is kind of mirroring Charlie's disbelief of what he's actually looking at, which comes quite nicely into an analysis of his character, because he's a 13-year-old boy who lives a fairly sheltered life, and he's obviously never seen a dead body in the flesh before, so it's quite a shocking moment for him. The whole next paragraph is full of grotesque imagery. If you're talking about genre, this is a great place here to make note. It really feeds into the Southern Gothic, English Gothic genre, but creates an Australian kind of version as Jasper Jones is. So it describes her being pale, she bears scratches, her face is smudged and bruised and bloody, and she is hanging by the neck from a thick rope tied to the bough of a silver eucalypt. She is still, she is limp. And then down the bottom of that paragraph it says her head is to the side like a piece of biblical art. This here is called a polysyndetic list. A polysyndetic list is a type of list where there is excessive use of the conjunction and, or any conjunction, but in this case there is a lot of ands and an unnecessary amount for any normal sentence, but it's being done as a literary choice here. So polysyndetic is spelled P-O-L-Y-S-Y-N-D-E-T-I-C, and then list. So a polysyndetic list. It says, and her calves, and her face is smudged and bruised and bloody, and she is hanging. Okay, so there's a lot of use of ands here, which kind of makes it like an afterthought. It's this and this and this and this, and it makes it sound like a really big list of really grotesque things that have happened to this poor innocent girl. The fact that she is described like a piece of biblical art here, this is a language feature, very simple one, you can figure out which one it is, but this also kind of is furthering that genre of this Gothic style, because it's very grotesque and a very clear image that we can associate all of these sorts of really horrible things like a smudged face and scratches and all of those things, but then she looks like biblical art. So it's very grotesque, very disturbing imagery here. The following paragraph and section follows as a stream of consciousness style of writing, which really is mirroring Charlie's response to what's going on. And then moving into a little bit of characterization, notice the use of italics in Charlie's dialogue. So at the bottom of page 12, it says, he knew this. And then over down near the bottom of page 13, it says, what? I don't understand. What happened? So there's a lot of use of italics, and they do continue on over into the bottom of page 14 and the start of page 15. This is a characterization technique, and its use of italics. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about how it's used to portray Charlie's mental state at this point and make an annotation about that. At the top-ish of page 13, it says, yeah, Jasper says softly. He's observing her now. Out of the corner of my eye, I see his head shake softly. He looks so skinny now and slouched, like a boy. I'm completely lost. So this here is characterization again, and I want you to think about what we've read so far in terms of characterization of Jasper, and I want you to note how he's really shown as being more three-dimensional here. So when you come up with a couple of adjectives that describe him here in comparison to how he is described earlier on in chapter 1. Up at the top of page 15, it says, so Jasper says, Charlie, listen, I'm saying she didn't do it. And then Charlie says, so who did? I ask, before a cold feeling of terror and dread suddenly has me backing away from him. I gag on the word. So there's three words here that are significant in terms of language that creates tension and uncertainty. They are cold, terror, and dread. What I want you to do is just pause this video now, and I want you to go and figure out what type of words these words are. So are they nouns, verbs, adverbs, adjectives? What kind of words are they? And think about the difference between an abstract noun and a concrete noun, and try to figure out which they are and maybe what effect that might have on the tension and uncertainty portrayed here. That's quite a hard task, so see how you go with that. Okay, flip over to page 16. We're going to have a look down the bottom, and Charlie says, but my fear is itching me, a sickly buzz on my skin. So here, my fear is itching me. Think about the verb itching and what language feature that makes it if fear can itch somebody. And then a sickly buzz on my skin. He describes the fear as being a sickly buzz. So think about, there are two separate language techniques in those two sentences. So figure out what each of them are, and then I want you to come up with a word that describes the tone that they're creating in this section. And then over on page 17, which is the last page we're going to look at today, there's a paragraph that starts, there are drums in my head, dum, dum, dum. It's so difficult to breathe in this little clearing. Something has shifted. A bubble has burst. I want out. I feel faint. I've got to be away from this. I want to be back at home, but that seems very far away. And I'm so threatened by the fact that even if I broke out of here, I couldn't get back there if I tried. So where it says doom, 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 or doom, 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 there is a word that means words that have a double meaning. So like pair and pair. I want you to figure out what that word is if you can remember it. And that's what this is here. So it means dum dum, like the sound, which is another language feature, and it means doom, doom, doom. Okay, the situation is doomed. So there are two kind of things at play here. It has this double meaning that kind of both feed into this feeling of impending doom that's happening here. And then throughout the rest of that paragraph, there's a lot of really negative language that's being used to develop the really terrible situation here. Finally, down the end, characterization at the very bottom of page 17. Charlie says, what are you talking about? No, we don't. We go to the police. So Charlie wanting to go to the police straight away shows that he really follows rules, he follows order, and there's a really clear juxtaposition here between the two boys and what their ideal solution is to the problem at play here. So those are the annotations we're going to have a look at today. If you need to go back over and look at anything, go back and do that. And then there is some more information that I have sent you, so have a look at that, and then you can go on to the next activity.